What's happening, YouTube? KitePlanet here, or Kite if you're like that. Some people aren't like that, but I'm like that. I'm back at it again today with the anime power system crossover special, if that makes sense. Well, it makes sense to me, so that's all that matters. So what I'm going to do today is take TOJI FUSHIGURO from Jujutsu Kaisen and give him, or create him, a totally original hatsu. And I think it's cool because he's kind of a blank slate. He has no powers. He has his restriction, but that grants him speed, power, and a boost to his senses. Not really a power. If you saw my last episode of this, my last time doing this, it was I took Shinra's pyrokinetic abilities and crafted them to fit under the rules and regulations of NEN in the Hunter x Hunter verse. So it's not just this wild pyrokinetic ability. There's rules and drawbacks to it. So if you're interested in that, that'll be at the end of this video. You can watch it right after this if you want. But yeah, Toji's a clean slate. So I have to create an ability for him. Of course, I'm going to take some things from his fighting style. You know, he uses weapons and he has the cursed spirit. I'm going to try to implement that into the ability. But other than that, I'm going to take my own creative liberties. So bear with me here. All right. So we got to keep the main thing, guys. And all that means is first things first. We have to decide what NEN affinity TOJI will be. So I was struggling with this a little bit, and then I decided, hey, let me just ask my Discord. I rarely ask my Discord for stuff like this, but they were saying things like enhancer. And I'm like, okay, that's the easiest answer. That's quick, short, to the point. TOJI's enhancer, heavenly restriction, makes him strong, buff, fast. Boost his senses. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Until I got to thinking, like, he fights nothing like an enhancer. He's not punch, kick, and blow stuff up. He's, weapons, tactics, sneaking up on people. And that's just not enhancement. So then I was like, all right, Zeno and Silva. He kind of reminds me of those two. He's an assassin. He does stuff for money. And he's not going to go the extra mile. If something's not worth it, it's not worth it. I've heard both of them say that from both verses. Zeno, Silva, and TOJI have said that. They've like, usually if the money's not right, or if there's not money involved, I'm not doing it. So I was like, okay, emitter. But then I'm like, nah, same thing with enhancement. Like, emitter is just not something I see TOJI doing. It has nothing to do with how TOJI gets down and how he boxes. Then I switched to conjure, and I'm like, okay, conjure. Like, that makes sense. He's got weapons, and yeah, that makes sense. But conjurers can't make weapons, as we know, that like break the bounds of reality. They can't do anything special. You can't conjure an unbreakable sword. Think about Kite and think about Shizuku. Kite conjures a slot machine, and it does what a slot machine does. You spin it, and then it gives you something. In his case, it gives him weapons. With Shizuku, she conjures a vacuum, and vacuum sucks stuff up, and that's what Blinky does. It sucks up stuff, and it has an abnormal ability of suction, but it's just suction. It's still suction. There's nothing extra about it. I mean, it's extra, but there's nothing different about it. So I was like, that's not really TOJI. Like, TOJI needs something special. He needs something special. So I was like, specialist. Now, hear me out on this. As I continue to do these videos, because I know these videos aren't doing well right now, and the reception isn't that great, but I really like these videos, and I think that eventually they will reach the right crowd and people will appreciate them. So I'm going to keep doing it until that happens. So hit the like button and subscribe if you're one of the people that like this type of stuff. But as I continue to do these, I'm not going to just give out the specialist category all willy-nilly. Believe me. And I may do things that don't even involve NEN, but I'm saying if I do come back to Hunter x Hunter and NEN, I'm not going to give out the specialist category just like candy on Halloween, because it is a special category. It's rare in the verse, and I'm not just going to give it to every new character. So, but I am going to give it to TOJI because I think he's a special case. He's special within his own verse, so why not make him, there's only 2 of him in his verse. So I think it's fitting to put him in the specialist category. So now that we got his affinity down, let's talk about the ability I created for him. It took me forever, but I got it. So let's start with the name. I'm proud of this. I don't know why, but I decided to call it Battle Worm's Forge. And that's worm, WYRM, like the dragonoid type of creature. So And it's like a play on words because the worm that surrounds him, his cursed spirit, you get it. You feel I'm going. Pat myself on the back because I do like that name. Better than the Shinra one. But yeah, Battle Worms Forge. So what does Battle Worms Forge do? Toji conjures a Nin beast. In other words, that cursed spirit thing like he uses in his own verse, but he conjures one in Hunter x Hunter because he has to conjure a Nin beast. It can't just exist. So he conjures that. Is it going to look the same? I leave that up to you. I would take a few liberties on it, maybe give it a little cooler, like more menacing look, but it doesn't matter. Let's just say it looks the same. So he conjures that Nin beast, and that Nin beast forges special weapons that are tailor-made to defeat the opponent's hatsu in front of him. Okay, so that's the ability. Does that make sense? It creates weapons, and the weapons give him an advantage over the opponent he's facing, that specific person. So now we have to get into the conditions and how you activate the ability. Obviously, you have to start off with conjuring the Nin beast first. But before I get into the two options you have right after conjuring it, I must explain step 2 and 3. So step 2 to activate the hatsu or make it take effect is you have to draw blood from the opponent. Okay? And then step 3 is to touch the opponent's aura. You have to touch it with your hand. You have to touch it, come in contact with it personally, skin to aura type thing. So those are the 2 steps you have to activate it. Now I'm going back to step 1, and I needed to explain those 2 first before I explain this. Now, there's 2 options you can take after you conjure the Nin beast and before you do those 2 conditions I just named. You can choose to explain your ability, which boosts the power of the ability. That's how it works in Hunter x Hunter. Hisoka's always going on about bungee gum. Hey, did you guys know that bungee gum has both the properties of rubber and gum? Yeah, I didn't know that. Anyways, but that's why they explain their ability and it amps the power or amps the efficacy, one of those things. It just makes it stronger in general. So if he explains it, then Battle Worms Forge will grant him a edged weapon, a sword. And that should make it easy to get the blood, right? And then touching it with his hand has nothing to do. But dodging a sword will probably set up for better attacks, better chances for him to touch. But it grants him a edged weapon of sorts, a sword, spear, knife, it doesn't matter. And so, yeah, that's what happens if you explain your ability. But the trade-off for that is now the person knows what you're trying to do and they can avoid it. They can even go so far not to just run away from you, but turn off their aura so you cannot come in contact with their aura. But of course, that runs the risk of them getting hit with a just regular Nin attack, which would do heavy damage and possibly even kill them. So it creates a sticky situation for both people. That's why I like this ability. And if you choose not to explain your power and how it works, you are granted a blunt weapon from Battle Worms Forge. So let's say, for instance, the Playful Cloud, the 3-sectioned staff. So it'll be a lot harder to get blood from someone when you're using a blunt object. Think about Crollo when he fought Silva and Zeno. They used their hatsu on him. He used the dragon emitter and then he used the 2 orbs and they both comboed and hit him and rubble fell on him. And then when he got up, he had like a little blood coming from his mouth. I think he had a little from his head and that was it. It's going to be extremely hard to replicate that amount of blood loss with just a blunt weapon. So it's hard, man. That's why you're better off when it comes to this ability, if you're fighting a stronger person, to explain your ability to them so you can be granted the edged weapon so it's easier to get blood from them. But when you're fighting a strong person at the same time, not just strong, but smart, telling them your ability is probably the worst thing you could possibly do. So there are advantages and disadvantages to this ability, as there should be, of course. So that's the thing. So you conjure the Nin beast and you say, hey, my ability works like if I get a drop of blood from you and touch your aura with my bare hands, I'm basically granted a weapon that guarantees my victory over you. But, now my abilities, you can avoid that. So that's how that works. Now, when he does get that weapon, let's just say he completes the steps. He gets the blood, he touches the aura. The Nin beast will grant him a weapon that gives him an advantage over the person's hatsu. So, boom, Battle Worms Forge grants him a weapon. He doesn't know what this weapon is. He doesn't know what weapon he's going to get. He doesn't know how it gives him an advantage. He just knows that it does give him an advantage in some form or fashion. He just has to figure it out. So this goes along with Toji's original character in the fact that he's a master of weapons. So it's up to Toji to figure out, hey, I know this gives me an advantage somehow, but how? How am I supposed to use this? What is his ability going to be? Because he hasn't even used his hatsu yet. So I had to figure out how it works. So that is part of the ability. It's not just an all omniscient ability. Once I get those two conditions, I'm guaranteed to win. No, you still have to figure out how to use the weapon. If this ability was given to somebody who wasn't a weapons master, or a weapons master didn't create this ability, it would be very hard for them to even activate the hatsu, first of all, using the initial weapons that were granted to you. But once you do get it, you'd be like, how do I use this? Say, for instance, that I do my conditions. I'm fighting Morel, and I get his blood, I touch his aura, and it grants me a weapon. Battle Worms Forge grants me a weapon. And let's just say, since he uses like smoke for his aura, it grants me a wind scythe thing, or a wind fan, like Tamari's fan from Naruto. It grants me that. And like initially, as soon as he gets that, he'd be like, okay, like I get it. Smoke, fan, blow it away. I got the advantage. So that would be a more obvious one. And then you have people like, let's say he was fighting Gon, and he gets a weapon and it's just like a long staff with like a spear on the end. And he'd be like, okay, like how does this give me an advantage? Well, in my opinion, I'd be like, okay, Gon's a close range fighter. So this extended weapon gives me the reach advantage, so I don't have to get in close and I don't have to risk myself. But that would be up for Toji to figure out. Now let's talk about the conditions for the ability. If you're following me here, hit that like button if this ability makes sense. So one condition is that it only works on one person at a time. So once I start my conditions and start the ritual, essentially I have to do it. Like it can't be turned off. Well, I'm not going to go that far because that would be kind of rough on Toji. It can be turned off, but it can only be used on one person at a time. So once he fulfills the conditions, that's it. He can't do it again and get another weapon and wield two weapons at once to fight two people. It only works on one person. Now, what's hard to really think about is once he does do all that, he gets the weapon and defeats the person with Battle Worms Forged weapon. How does the weapon go away, or can he continue to use it to beat the other people around him? Would you even want to do that? Say you were fighting multiple strong people, you don't want to continue using this weapon for specialized for this other guy. You want to create a new one. Can he use this ability multiple times in one day? Is there a cooldown? Let's give him a cooldown period. Let's say that his hatsu has a 2-hour cooldown period. So he cannot fight back-to-back strong opponents. So that's also another downgrade. But I know you'd be saying like, well, he can't use his hatsu unless it's a one-on-one fight, and he can't win big battles. He's still Toji. So if he explains his ability to a bunch of people and he gets that sword, he could still win with that sword or that edged weapon, whatever it is, or even the blunt one, because you can still use Shu, the advanced application of NEN that shrouds your weapon in your aura. So he can still use that to fight and defend and do all that stuff. So he's not completely in deep water here, but it is tough for him. So there is a restriction I must mention now that I've finished with all of that. So before I get to the restriction, let me just go over everything. Battle Worms Forge. If I manage to cut my enemy, get his blood, and touch his aura with my bare hands, once my NEN beast gathers this information, it forges me a weapon that gives me the advantage over their hatsu. So it puts me at a great advantage if I can meet these conditions. But I can only use it on one person at a time. And that's the ability. That's not too, let me know if that's too overpowered or if that's not strong enough. But I think it's pretty good for Toji, especially with how he fights. He's an assassin. So there is a restriction. The NEN beast is not like APR. It's not like Knuckles APR. It's not like Kite's crazy slots. Well, I'm not sure about crazy slots and the whole situation going on over there, but I know that APR cannot be damaged. We all know that. You can't destroy it. You cannot hurt it. You can't do anything to it. It just is conjured. It's there and it's not going away. This is not the case for Battle Worms Forge, the NEN beast. So the restriction is if the beast is hurt, fatally wounded, Toji will lose this hatsu altogether. He will never be able to wield this specific hatsu. He can always create another one, but that takes time and all that stuff. You don't want to lose your hatsu. He can still wield nen. We're not going to take away his nen. We're just taking away this hatsu from him. It's like, yeah, we're taking away his hatsu. So that is another thing that is a restriction, but it amps the abilities. It'll probably amp the strength. It allows him to create such a low risk situation for his ability, because low risk abilities consume a ton of aura. So Toji having this restriction boosts his aura, boosts the ability, and allows him to actually wield this. And so that will also, if he chose to explain his abilities, he doesn't have to explain his restriction, but he can. It always offers a power boost when you explain your abilities. If he were to explain this, the opponent would be like, oh, like I can get in close and just end this before he even meets the conditions. But once again, him coming close, we know how Battle Worm Forge or the Cursed Spirit thing wrapped around him. It's on him. You have to get up on him to hurt it. Or you could use your attacks from far, whatever you have, but you have to go on the offensive. And that just allows opportunities for Toji to meet his conditions. If you're trying to get in close to destroy the Hatsu, destroy the Nen Beast, he can cut you and touch your aura damn near at the same time if he wanted to. So it's very dangerous, but there is trade-offs, because if he does it, he loses his Hatsu. If he doesn't do it, Toji gets off his conditions, and essentially the battle is guaranteed because Toji is a weapon specialist. He's the weapon specialist came before the Nen. He created this Hatsu because he is a weapon specialist. It doesn't grant him all-knowing abilities about all weapons. He already had that going in. That is why he created this Hatsu. You create your Hatsu based on your own personality, based on your own lifestyle. So this is a perfect ability for him. And adding that loophole in there is like, okay, like that's fine. But Toji, it's not really a loophole to Toji. That's why, like Netero's ability when it comes to the Guanin Bodhisattva, yeah, having to do this with his hands before his ability is like a super stupid setback. But we all know the backstory behind Netero and how he was able to accomplish 10,000 punches in like an hour or some shit, like 2 hours. So him practicing for 40 years in the damn wilderness allows this motion to not even be a setback. But the Nen doesn't know the difference. The Nen just knows, okay, like this motion is a ridiculous condition to do before your Nen. Like, okay, take this boost of power because you having to do that is going to be a major setback. But to Netero, it's not a setback. So just like with Toji getting a random weapon, not knowing anything about the weapon, not knowing what it's going to be, for a regular person, if you gave me the 3-section staff and told me to go beat someone's ass with it, I'd be like, well, like, okay, I'll just swing it around. But giving it to Toji, we know what he can do with it. So it's perfect. These aren't setbacks for Toji, even though they are conditions and restrictions. So I think that's pretty much all for the ability. But of course, I can go into maybe Postmortem Nen. And you know why I'm going into Postmortem Nen. Because, you know, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the second season, you know, skip ahead or whatever. I'll put like a timestamp. But since Toji died and came back, let's just add in the fact that he may have access to a Postmortem Nen. What is Postmortem Nen? It comes back stronger and keeps staying attached to whatever it's directed to. So let's say Toji perishes. God forbid. I mean, he already did. But let's say he perishes. What does his Nen do? Maybe his Nen Beast lingers around. I'm going to set the stage and say that Toji dies, but the Nen Beast lingers on. And when it lingers on, sort of like Hisoka, it brings him back to life. But at the fact that it sort of merges with him, it digs in somehow and intertwines its life force with Toji, restarts its heart, feeds Toji blood or whatever it needs to do. And that way he comes back to life. And so now they're intertwined, and the benefit of the Nen Beast and Toji being intertwined now, it basically revived him and they've become one, sort of. It doesn't need those conditions to be met because Toji is already one with it. He can grab the power, gain access to his power. It's kind of like how Hisoka, you know, another spoiler alert if you made it this far, I'll timestamp it, but Hisoka perished and he came back Postmortem Nen. He's stronger, and we see that person in the more later chapters of Hunter x Hunter. He they punched Hisoka and they just passed out. Hisoka's never done anything like that ever before. I'm going to attribute that to Postmortem NEN. So he has some things going on that are just ridiculously overpowered. In my opinion, I think Hisoka was already stronger than Chrollo, and Chrollo taking his time and cheating, basically gaining all these abilities to beat Hisoka because he couldn't beat Hisoka on the spot. He can't beat Hisoka in just a straight up fight where he doesn't prep. In my opinion, I think that was pretty obvious by the fact that he had to go and get all those powers to beat him, and pick the arena and pick the stage. Yeah. So now the fact that Hisoka's stronger is crazy. But I think with the fact that if Toji comes back to life, he'll forego all the conditions. So as soon as he starts a battle, he gets a weapon that can already put him above. And once again, it's not always a guarantee because people will have multiple hatsu. There are people who have multiple hatsu. So, but there's not a lot of people. They have multiple hatsus, but the hatsus will be like enhancements to the main hatsu, which they aren't really a threat in and of themselves. Like Hisoka's a double face, just a bookmark that allows him to use 2 abilities. That double face is not really an issue itself. It's not going to attack Toji, but it just allows more options for Chrollo to attack himself. So I think we forego the conditions. As soon as he starts the battle, as soon as he activates Battle Worm's Forge, he immediately gets a weapon that puts him at advantage. So I think we could do that for Postmortem NEN. Just a little fun tidbit to add on the end. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Let me know if there's any other characters you want to see, of course, and I will get to them if I can merge it. It doesn't have to be that character and NEN. It could be that character in some other power system. I'll do the research and get it out to you. But leave a like and subscribe if you like this video, if you want to continue to see more. And yeah, I will catch you in the next one, guys. Peace.